Welcome, everyone, to RB1 Colon Fantasy Football Podcast, part of the Fake News Podcast channel. I am the consummate professional, first ranking officer of the Terry McLaurin Stand Club, Grand Marshal of the Alvin Kamara Apology Parade, and BFFs with the Oracle, your humble host, Pete Rogers. And I am joined by some of the guys. We have the Duck Father, foreteller of Devontae Parker's breakout, DK Metcalf's #1 admirer, and caster of the double reverse chutzpah, resident old man Clark Barnes. Sunken lieutenant of the SS Deshaun Jackson, loather of Adam Gase, doubter of John Gruden's Jacob Handel shtick, and thinks your favorite team is run by donkeys, the ginger clean-shaven man, Nick Botiford. Guys, how are we doing today?
Doing great, Pete.
Good, Pete. How are you?
I am doing well. I am ready for week 4, but I am also not too ready for week 4 since, we'll certainly touch on it, but we've had our first COVID little excitement in the NFL with the Titans. I think it's up to 9 total people now in that organization testing positive for COVID. So we'll touch on more about that when we get to the Pittsburgh Tennessee game, but that we'll see what the NFL has in store and planned for all this. So far, their plan has just been push it down the line.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make of it. My best guess was to just pause the league for 2 weeks, be totally safe with it, and not risk spreading. But I'm not a doctor, and I don't understand why 1 week works instead. So I guess we'll leave it at that.
But doesn't your intro say premier fantasy internet doctor? I thought you were a doctor, Nick. Have you
Not
been lying
an
to us this entire
epidemiologist.
time?
Yeah.
God damn it. Well, we should really check your credentials before we brought you onto the show, but that's our fault. We stats and information letting us down yet again. All right, well, let's jump into week 4 starts and sits. As always, we are going to go through every single game this week and talk about, who's saucy, who's naughty. Let's start Thursday Night Football, the treat that we get of the Denver Broncos heading to the New York Jets to take on the Adam Gase-led kerfuffle that is the Jets. What is the guy's name? The Broncos are now starting some complete off-the-street guy who I want to say it's not Trevor Siemian.
It's Brett Ripien. He was a graduate.
Ripien.
Yeah, graduate of Boise State. Sorry, the dog's drinking some water next to me. That's George for all the listeners
Gotta
out
stay
there.
hydrated.
Gotta stay hydrated.
He's all right. So Boise State, obviously prolific college program. He basically went on and off the practice squad last year and practice squad and regular team. He saw some time last week and immediately threw an interception. So I don't know why they kept
Brett
him
Ripien,
in over Jeff Driscoll.
It is because of this that I am very tepid on my Jerry Jeudy takes for this week. I just don't have any faith in whomever the Broncos are going to roll out at quarterback. And on a short week, implementing that, it pains me because Jerry Jeudy has such a huge potential for a huge workload, given the fact that it's basically him and Noah Fant who are the lead pass catchers in this Broncos offense, and the Jets aren't great. Spoiler alert. But I have Jerry Jeudy in one of my leagues, and I am not planning on starting him this week. And I actually just did my wide receiver rankings, and I have him like barely as a wide receiver 4.
Yeah, I think unless you have Melvin Gordon, that this is a blessing Thursday night game that you don't have to worry about and that you don't have to watch. You can just go spend some time with the family.
Yeah, I don't know why the NFL didn't flex this. Like, this is crazy that they actually scheduled this as an island game.
They doubled down on it. We're like, this game is going to be amazing.
Why would you ever put Gase in prime time? But anyway, it's baffling to me. I do think the one guy that can stand to benefit here is Noah Fant, because I think that Ripien could just lock on to the big guy and feed him all day. But if Jeudy gets it done, it'll be because of his own ability.
Yeah. The best outcome we can possibly hope for in this game is that Brett Ripien somehow leads the Broncos to a victory and Adam Gase gets fired before the post-game credits roll.
The thing is, the entire building is now populated with Gase acolytes, so it's going to be more of the
Burn
same
it down.
thing. Yeah.
God, what are you doing, Jets? What are you doing? Let's move on. We're done with Thursday night. Stupid. First game on the Sunday schedule, we have the Baltimore Ravens heading to Washington to take on the football team. Nicholas, you are intrigued and enticed by this battle.
Yeah. So 2 stud defensive linemen on the Washington team are down right now. Matt Ioannidis, who is a really underrated interior lineman, is out for the year with, I think it was either a pec or bicep tear. And Chase Young injured his groin, and that he was ruled out really quickly for this week's matchup, which indicates he's probably going to be out for a little while. That's the strength of their defense. Without that, teams are just going to run wild against them through all facets of the game. So if anybody was concerned that Washington's defensive line was maybe going to be able to contain Lamar on the ground a little bit, I think we crossed that concern off completely. And down the road, we now no longer fear this team. If there's perhaps a passing game that is that has a mid-tier offensive line, this is now no longer one where theoretically Carson Wentz shouldn't have too much of a difficult time with them again. Maybe that's the wrong guy to throw out there, but the point being that their strength has been compromised. The only other thing that I wanted to mention was that Baltimore has had a difficult time covering tight ends, and granted they just played Travis Kelce, but with losing their free safety Earl Thomas right before the season started, they're playing, I think it's Deshaun Elliott at free safety, and he's just a replacement level guy. And because of that, the tight ends have been able to profit. Logan Thomas's usage is as good as it gets.
World.
Yeah. Rich Rebar and Adam Levitan had a nice back and forth on Twitter about this, where it's unreal. He has a 23.8% target market share, but he has the lowest catchable ball percentage. It's 50% of his passes. So
Dwayne Haskins.
It's real interesting. There was a little talk that Rivera said that maybe you guys can clarify this for me. He said something there is a limit to how much
he had a saucy. His post-game conversation certainly opened the door for there being a little QB controversy if Dwayne Haskins doesn't kind of get his shit together soon.
Yeah, so watching this game last week, sometimes quarterbacks have really bad stat lines like Kirk Cousins did 2 weeks ago, but one of his picks was at the end of the half on just a prayer ball, and you can see how the quarterback played okay, but, the box score looked terrible. Dwayne Haskins first quarter, you're like, okay, man, they're doing some good things, and then after that, just absolutely horrible. I was listening to the Football Guys podcast with Sigmund Bloom, who's a pretty reasonable guy, and he said that Coach Rivera dressed down Dwayne Haskins in the media. And the things that he said, similar to what Pete mentioned of, there's a limit to what you can put the rest of the guys through who are out there working hard. And so, those are kind of words that we're playing telephone here, so keep that in mind. But those are the kind of words that signal a QB change is imminent unless somebody takes a huge step forward.
Yeah. They paid a 5th-round pick for Kyle Allen from Scott Turner and Rivera's former team in Carolina. Yeah. So they have a guy there that they do they paid to get him. That's noteworthy.
Yeah, and a note on that. Also, same pod. Kyle Allen last year we know featured his studs, and something much like Nick Foles does. Nick Foles seems to understand where his bread is buttered and throws the ball to the people that are really, really good, instead of trying to do what I think is the better quarterback thing and spreading the ball around. For real football terms, that kind of sucks because the team can tee off on that. For fantasy football terms, that's fantastic because volume is everything. So heads up on that. Don't lose faith on Terry McLaurin, and Antonio Gibson looked really good. I don't know why J.D. McKissick is a thing, and who also looks good. But it's really frustrating for the Gibson owners out there. Don't lose heart.
I am nervous about both those guys though this week against Baltimore's defense. I know Kansas City took them for a ride, but that's Kansas City. Kansas City is on a whole different god tier that you should not compare any other team to. Both Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson, I would be tepid about. Terry McLaurin, I have him in multiple leagues and I'm playing him because I just love him and I can't not play him. But I have him ranked pretty lower than you than he should be, simply because this Baltimore's defense is legit.
It'll be hard to get away from him, but I think Baltimore bounces back. Kansas City just looks like they really outclassed Baltimore, which is weird because Kansas City had fits with the Chargers, who haven't looked great against anyone, but it's an interesting league. If I'm a Baltimore fan or owner of Baltimore players, I don't worry about it. I just think this is a bounce back game against the Washington football team, and everything's going to be okay in Baltimore, but playoff implications and the next few years moving forward implications, the Chiefs have the Ravens number. It wasn't the ball bounced the Chiefs' way. Yeah. It was they dominated the Ravens for the whole game. It actually wasn't as close as the score made it out to be. It was just a shellacking.
There were a number of defensive backs on Twitter who were breaking down the one Mecole Hardman long score, where basically it was Andy Reid preying on his former player, Marcus Peters. Peters loved to just try to jump routes. And it's some fun, you can search for it, but there's a bunch of like DBs just breaking it down on their TVs where they're like, he set this up because he knew that he would leave his responsibility to try to go cover Tyreek Hill. Anyway, it's fun stuff. But yeah, it's testament to what you were saying, Clark.
Well, and Eric, we don't want to not give credit to Eric Bieniemy, who's going to be a head coach probably next year. Apparently, he's the one calling the plays, and to have a tutor like Andy Reid seems fantastic because Andy Reid spun off a lot of good coaches, but you got to give them credit. I mean, you try not to wax poetic about someone because of one game, but the Baltimore Ravens are a legitimate team, and they were just absolutely crushed by the Chiefs.
Jets. Fire Adam Gase.
No. Oh, okay. No, don't do that.
Hire Bieniemy.
Oh, God.
Fix it. Fix the Jets.
I love that New York's teams are terrible. Fuck New York.
I mean, I love it too. I love watching the Jets just in utter turmoil. But then let's get Sam Darnold out of New York. Let's get Sam Darnold.
I don't mean people from New York. I just mean your sports teams. I relish in y'all being terrible. I don't have anything personally against people from New York.
Oh, I have many things personally against everyone from New
You're a Yankee too, so y'all have differences between you. I guess.
I just like to see people succeed.
I mean, Southern Yankee.
I know.
That was good. Sorry.
Let's move on. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Not for what I said. Yeah.
Pittsburgh Steelers heading to Tennessee to take on the Titans. I guess I feel pretty chalk about this game. I would love for AJ Brown to finally take the field, and I don't know I know he's practicing again, question mark, tentatively maybe. Nope, he's not. Nick's giving me the head shake. God damn it.
What I was hearing today was that the word on the street is that the injury is worse than initially feared. Yeah, so I think he's actually going to be out for longer than was expected, and I'm not seeing any updates right now via Roto World, but I think it could be a little while. Everybody needs to go do their homework on him.
Yeah.
Well, the Titans continued to win. The Vikings having some tough luck getting the year started, losing some close games. How about that Steven Gostkowski kicking 19 50-yard plus field goals in the win against those Vikings? So what Ryan Tannehill's doing with the Titans offense is hard to say. That not incredibly special. He's not running around out there making a ton of plays himself, but he seems to find the open receiver frequently, and there seem to be very open receivers frequently. So we're seeing guys who you've never heard of before have big games. I think the piece to own here, I mean, obviously, Irv Smith Jr. is getting targeted all the time. Or not Irv Smith Jr. Johnny Smith is getting targeted all of the time. Yeah. Corey Davis is filling in really admirably. I know a lot of folks have been burned by him, but if he happens to be available while Brown is out, you should go pick him up. And Derrick Henry looks like he's always looked like, which is a not especially quick, just giant man who's running people over. So I think this is going to be a pretty bad matchup for the Titans. I feel like the Steelers are going to outclass them. I'm a little worried that James Conner may not have a huge game, but just the passing offense for the Steelers would be a go for me, breaking all the ties to get folks into this game, because I feel like it's going to be a high scoring one despite kind of these teams' reputations for being strong defensive squads.
Yeah, if Deontay Johnson's healthy, I think he could thrive. We could see he feels like he plays a similar role to what we saw Justin Jefferson just absolutely demolish the Titans secondary on.
Yeah, I didn't know that Jonathan Joseph was starting for the Titans secondary. As a longtime Texans fan, that's a bad sign. And if you can hone in on who that matchup's going to be against Jonathan Joseph is very good against incredibly slow players, but he's just slow. So if you have a fast receiver going against Jonathan Joseph, he's an automatic play.
Yeah, this will be a big test for offensive coordinator, the Titans, Arthur Smith. See if he can continue scheming success up for Ryan Tannehill, who I think has played really well. I mean, his CPOE is like fantastic this year, so I do think it's like a perfect system fit for him. Go ahead. Completion percentage over expected.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
smart Nick over here with the genius brain.
No, that was for the people.
Clark knew what that was.
You know.
It's looking at basically like if you run a simulation, how many times would somebody be able to complete that pass, and then try to figure out if their completion percentage is like lying or not. Anyway, I think we have to lower expectations for the Titans players. Unfortunately, that includes Derrick Henry. Jonnu Smith may just be like totally, his own beast and impervious to this kind of stuff. As far as the Steelers go, I think the extra day potentially or 2 days might.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, this is the COVID day. We should talk about that.
Yeah, so that might give Deontay Johnson the ability to clear the concussion protocol. If it doesn't, though. I personally prefer Chase Claypool, but one of Chase Claypool or James Washington should be fired up in this matchup because, as you were saying, Clark, somebody on the perimeter is going to get to roast Jonathan Joseph. The Titans' defense as a whole has been really underwhelming this year.
Yeah.
And so the only thing I'm going to disagree with is that I think James Conner can like rock the house.
I'm afraid of Jadeveon Clowney, who plays the run really tight. Just in general, but that's just a general sense, and nothing that I've seen this year makes me think the Titans are really stout on D. So.
I like the Chase Claypool call because we've seen him have huge games in which he is targeted down the field, and he has that elite speed to blow by a slower corner. So this game right now, last time I checked, Adam Schefter was talking about how it is scheduled to either be a doubleheader on Monday. They'll have 2 Monday night games, or it'll be played Tuesday to give the extra time for, I guess, COVID to magically leave all of the Titans' bodies, despite the fact that it takes 2 weeks for that to happen. But whatever. So,
well, the test really sucks, so they should just keep testing them until they get the result they want.
Yeah, that's the way to
science, boys. Don't question it ever. It's not how science works. No questions. If I can get away from this game, I will.
Yes.
You don't know what's going to happen. You're going to have to roll your week
point.
forward in fantasy eventually. It's not going to be like the scores in week 4 are going to change if they push this game off to like week 18, if we see this happening. So I don't know. It's like a super duper Monday night matchup with someone with a twisted ankle. It's going to be a strange thing.
Yeah. Do we get to know, Clark, who is on who tested positive? Or Pete?
I saw only one name by Schefter tweeting out who was placed on COVID, and it was a linebacker. So
as long as it's not someone important, that's fine. We should be able to know all of their medical information.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's legit that the NFL. I mean, I don't necessarily respect the process, but I would not be surprised if Goodell gets like, "Oh, it's Derrick Henry. Let's push it back." Like, you know what I mean? I can totally see them doing that.
Yeah. I have not seen anything about players who are actually who were the ones who tested positive, but I feel like if it was major, maybe we would know about it.
A situation to monitor.
Well said, Clark.
I'll be definitive there. Keep an eye on it.
Keep an eye on it. Let's move on to the LA Chargers heading to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucks. The biggest question I have for you guys both to talk me out of or into or whatever, we know this Bucks defense is legit. We've seen it be stout against the run. We've seen it be stout against the pass. Am I worried about Austin Eckler this week? Should I be worried about Austin Eckler?
Worried, yeah, but I don't know how you get away from it. You would have to have a pretty strong stable of running backs. it looks like Tyrod Taylor is still going to be out. So we'll have a younger, fresher running quarterback to worry about. I am going to bench Joshua Kelly this week in favor of Antonio Gibson, and that's kind of a tough one, but just to give some people an idea of where my head's at with it. It's not because I don't like Kelly. The Bucs front seven is just really good, and their secondary is not too bad either. So this is a game that it's hard to speak in generalities like this, but this is a game that if I can get away from playing Chargers players, I will. Keenan Allen's go, because Herbert seems to understand that Keenan Allen's really good at getting open and catching the football, but other than that, I'm staying away.
Yeah, Nick, you have Austin Eckler as your running back 10 this week. So clearly, actually, maybe I shouldn't be too worried.
Yeah, I got a whole lot of hot fire to spit here. Okay, so the big thing that we should be really, really happy about is that the presence of Justin Herbert has brought back Austin Eckler's 2019 usage. Last week, I believe he saw 11 targets. It was 5 the previous week when he just got that spot start. And we saw Josh Kelly just like, he got swept under the rug last week. I think I can check here, but I believe Eckler's carry total was like 12 and he had 11 targets. I think he might've caught all 11 of them. Yeah. 12 carries and caught 11 of 11 targets. So that's outrageously promising usage. And that kind of usage, it just like negates what a defense might do to a player's fantasy box score, because Austin Eckler's pass catching ability, just, assuming you're getting a points per reception, his floor is just like impervious. Additionally, if we look at what the Chargers defense has allowed to backs through the air through the first 3 weeks of the season, Alvin Kamara caught 5 of 8 targets, 51 yards and a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey caught 4 of 5 for 29 yards. Mike Davis, when he came in relief of him during week 2's game, caught 8 of 8 for 74. In week 3, Melvin Gordon caught 4 of 6 for 12 yards. Royce Freeman caught 2 of 2 for 31. Point here is that the Chargers are actually not able to stop running backs through the passing game. And part of that, thank you. The Bucs just might not be able to stop backs through the passing game, and I don't quite understand why, because their linebacking core is lightning quick, but it's happening. So let's roll with it.
Awesome. Well, forget about everything of hesitation I had at the start of this. Fire up Austin Eckler and everything.
Clark.
We could talk about this all day. So you were running through those numbers, and it made me think like, damn, the Bucs are doing such a good job against stopping running backs as receivers, because you mentioned Alvin Kamara having 50 yards. You mentioned McCaffrey having just a few, but then Mike Davis coming in pushes them over 100 for a back. And then it seems like they shut down the Buccaneers. Not fantastic offense and strong running back core. I don't know, though.
The Broncos.
The Broncos, there you go. Yeah, so those are interesting numbers. When your first 2 opponents are the best 2 receiving backs in the league, and you do what I would say would be a really good job bottling them up, that's tough to say. But Austin Eckler is incredibly good, and you have a rushing quarterback. I don't know. I could talk in circles all day, but we can probably move on to the next one.
I do like the idea, though, of Mike Davis having all of his production in the passing game when the Panthers were down big, and I get I could see the Buccaneers scoring pretty quickly on the Chargers getting down big, and then it's Austin Eckler in the passing game in quasi makeup garbage time.
Yeah, I wonder if what Tom Brady's going to do in this. Is this going to be a Scotty Miller game because he's going to be under fire, or is it just going to be fire up Mike Evans like crazy? I dropped Gronk, so all of you who started him last week, you're welcome. I was personally responsible for him having a good game. Really interested in this Bucs team. They seem to be kind of feeling their way out and figuring things out, and it seems like the play would be fast passes or just tons of Mike Evans all of the time against this Chargers team. But I don't know. They seem like they're going to be pretty good this year. It'll be interesting to see how they go against the Chargers.
I like all of the Mike Evans this week.
Yeah, I think Godwin is out.
Yeah,
he had to get an MRI on it to determine the severity, which actually maybe that's protocol. I don't know. But he was ruled out really quickly for this week, and it's looking like it might be a multi-week thing. Scotty Miller's hurt too, right?
He is.
So is it in what I did not check on, I'll do it right now, but Justin Watson's status, do we know anything?
I don't know.
about him. Because, so perhaps just the short answer here is, Justin Watson was able to return to practice, shoulder injury. So if you need some help, he might be the guy to look to, because the Chargers defense is like obliterated by injury right now. Chris Harris out. They're down, I think, 2 linemen and 2 linebackers and Derwin James. Like it's kind of a shell of its former self right now. So I don't think we should be afraid to start our Bucks. But to your point, Pete, start Mike Evans, lock him in the lineup and throw away the key. If you need help, I think Justin Watson could do it. If you're trying to figure out the backfield, best of luck to you.
Yeah, that backfield I want zero part of. All right, let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks heading to Miami to take on the Dolphins. And my goodness, if this is not the most enticing, exciting lineup that you could possibly project in fantasy, because neither of these teams can stop the pass. And this guy went and got himself some Fitzmagic, because Fitzmagic is about to throw like 15 touchdowns against this Seahawks secondary that has been hemorrhaging points. Nick, what do you like about this game?
So to break it down really, really quickly, the only thing that we want to worry about with Russell Wilson is that he could get game scripted out. But given that they're letting him cook early, I think that if he does get game scripted out, it's going to be because he connected with Lockett and Metcalf for multiple touchdowns. And so I think he's my quarterback 2 in my rankings this week. Obviously, the Dolphins defense is appalling, and Byron Jones being out is real bad for their cornerback scenario. You could probably try to start one of the tight ends, like Greg Olsen might be able to have himself a day. As far as the running backs go, I think Carlos Hyde could see a lot of work in the second half. And like we mentioned earlier, Travis Homer is worth a speculative add. He might be getting some passing game work. On the Miami side of the football, Ryan Fitzpatrick, we can roll him out there. He has, I have him 24.
Don't say it so tentatively, Nick. We can roll him out there. Fitzmagic is about to just go off this week.
So here's the thing. Seriously, I mean, his floor is being replaced by Tua, and his ceiling is like top 12. It's multi-touchdowns because they don't even like run in the second half. He just gets a million pass attempts. And so if you are in need of a high ceiling, like if you're looking at your opponent and you might just lose this week, I think that he is a candidate for you. The guy that I really like, though, and hopefully listeners have already added him, Myles Gaskin is just getting so much friggin' work in the passing game. I think he's got like 20-some targets over the last 2 games. This is like bulletproof usage. So just plug him in. Hopefully you're in some sort of PBR format. And even if he doesn't find the end zone, he has a shot at like replacing that production just with catching passes. Like he could rack up eight catches, no problem. So, get Myles Gaskin into your lineup this week. And the one thing that I'll say that Fitz has going for him, aside from the fact that Seattle's defensive line is appalling, is Jamal Adams, I guess, is out. And I think that Seattle, they brought in safety. You guys see who that was? Can you help me out? They brought in Randall, Demarius Randall.
Oh, good. That'll sure things up.
Yeah, there you go.
I just have one question. So Carlos Hyde, top 12 running back this week? The point of the question being, if you went out and got Carlos Hyde, I don't know why you don't start him this week. He's going to get the lion's share. I really love the Travis Homer love. He looks like a smaller, shiftier back who was already getting involved when everybody was healthy. So they've been trying to do that in Seattle, I think, for the past 3 or 4 years, drafting guys like CJ Prosise and things like that. So I think, like you mentioned, kind of preemptive pickup. This might be where you get Homer for free, and unless he goes off this game, and then we'll see a couple more games before Chris Carson comes back.
I have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf right next to each other, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 this week. They are going to go off as Russ cooks. And this is also, before we leave this game, this is also the game that features the Oracle's start of the week. I have a letter that the Oracle sent me that she wants me to read, a statement that she wants me to read. She felt that her powers of deduction and deciphering in the fantasy world were being wasted with people not giving her challenging starts and sits quandaries to answer. So instead, what she's going to do now is she has decided to look into the ether and has picked one player each week. She'll pick one player each week who she is certain will finish a top 12 at their position. And so here is the Oracle giving you from this game. This is her start of the week.
So this week, I think I feel more for Devontae Parker. I think he's close to his family, so he's going to be thinking about keeping safe and healthy and grounded by spending time with family in this anxious time. Although he may be a little bit unbalanced by everything that's going on in Louisville. Hopefully that doesn't touch him personally and set him off his game. But that's what I'm thinking. Thanks.
What's going on in Louisville?
Making a lot of baseball bats.
I don't know. Yeah. The Oracle speaks in tongues.
I just pictured the Oracle at her research and prognostication desk shuffling papers around as she was caught off guard that the recording had started, and that she was just so deep in the stats and analysis that she was like, "Oh, Devontae Parker." And then
it's the classic. Oh, I didn't see you there. Welcome to.
Yeah,
that's what got her with. So yeah, there you go. There's the Oracle's start of the week. Let's move on to a game that I am very excited about. I said I was excited about the Seahawks Miami. I lied, because the game I'm actually excited about from a fantasy standpoint, Minnesota Vikings heading to Houston to take on the Texans. Clark, are your boys finally going to get a win this week? Let's start there.
This is kind of a two teams wandering coming to a head here. So the Texans have had an absolutely brutal start to the schedule and lost 3 games that I feel like they should have lost, despite looking good in the Steelers for a half. So good job, Bill O'Brien. You have one good half of football under your belt. I do think that the Texans are going to win, but these teams are pretty closely matched in what they're going to be able to do. Justin Jefferson was a hot pickup this week, and I think 42 PPR points should not be expected, but the Texans secondary gets roasted, and the pass rush isn't really good anyway either. And so teams should be able to tee off on the Texans, and I think the Vikings will continue to do that. Adam Thielen bounces back from his this is what bad games for really good players look like game. Dalvin Cook should be able to eat. This is the time where, if you have an extra roster spot for somebody that's totally wasting away and Alexander Madison is out there, I would go pick him up before he costs money. Just always wanting to take shots where there's a clear backup and somebody's cooking. I think we finally see Will Fuller have a good football game, and I'm very excited for that. I think if you're worried about David Johnson, that's fine this week. I think all of the Texans are going to look good, and Minnesota's offense will look good too against 2 very bad defenses.
This is what I am dubbing the Will Fuller wide receiver 1 week. I have him as my wide receiver 10 this week. He is going to, this is the week that we've all been waiting for Will Fuller to go for $150 and 2 touchdowns. This is the week that is going to happen. The Texans are 0-3. Deshaun Watson, this team is going to look to get this win at home against a very, very, very vulnerable Vikings secondary and team in general. So I think that they are going to go balls to the wall in order to win this one. So if you have Will Fuller, you fire him up with utmost confidence this week. And if it doesn't work out, then he is dead to me, and I will never rank him above a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm going to add is just that for Clark's point of forward thinking, the Vikings' upcoming schedule, Houston, Seattle, Atlanta, but then Green Bay, Detroit. We have some serious smash weeks ahead for the receiver corps, and it's nice that Justin Jefferson broke out when he did. I do think Thielen is absolutely the top dog there, but if you're in need of wide receiver, I think Jefferson's a good ad, and the matchups incoming are going to help him along the way.
All right, let's move on. The New Orleans Saints heading to Detroit to take on the Lions. And the only thing that I am curious about in this game is whether or not Alvin Kamara will score 50 fantasy points. It's the only thing I care about in this game.
I'm very proud of Alvin Kamara.
He is
just
doing
a little personal
work.
news. I managed to dodge all of the major running back injuries by sheer luck this year. And so I am just really enjoying being lucky and fortunate. Alvin Kamara's turned it up. In the absence of Michael Thomas, he is clearly the go-to guy. Drew Brees looks as though he's trying to push the ball downfield. And the very little bit of all 22 footage that I've looked at has showed me that no one's open. So it's not, I don't think that he's hesitant. I think that no one is there. And I think the Saints are seeing a little taste of what it's like to not have your all-world wide receiver. I'm talking to you, Bill O'Brien. And that's just making the offense look a little stagnant. Alvin Kamara is picking it up. What we saw last week, what I expected and what I expect to see more is Latavius Murray getting enough run to maybe be a low-end flex running back two for you if you're desperate. There's no reason that he shouldn't be getting 15 touches a game, and that shouldn't hurt Kamara in any way because the Saints need to just suck it in. They started doing that and kind of lost a nail biter, but I'm excited for the Saints. I think they're going to kill Detroit, but hopefully it'll be a shootout too.
Yeah, so I think it's safe to say at this point that Kamara has taken over as the team's number one pass catcher, basically. I think
he's like fourth in the NFL in target share.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Absolutely absurd.
Well, he's getting a lot of routes intended to go to him, and then he's getting a ton of checkdowns too. So they're running plays for him, and then Drew Brees is like, screw it, no one's open, and then goes to him additionally. So he's
and then
really
Alvin Kamara is showing, like, this is the thing too, where it's like when a player gets injured, I understand it's hard to like keep him out for a long period of time, but like just look at the difference between Alvin Kamara last year when he was battling with injuries and like playing through them, and this year where he started off the season looking like the Alvin Kamara that, set the world on fire his rookie year and sophomore year. So like, it just is a moment where it's like, hey, San Francisco with George Kittle, give him plenty of time. And same thing with Michael Thomas. Let them fully heal. I understand that's something that rarely happens in actual football, but, give them the time they need.
Yeah, he's fifth in the NFL in targets and he has 27 catches, so he's safely on par to destroy his weird career thing where he only catches 81 passes per year, no more and no fewer. I don't know how he's done that, but he has. But Michael Thomas did return to practice, so we should monitor that situation.
Definitely something worth monitoring. Do you think he and Alvin Kamara will have beef about being Drew Brees' number one target? Do you think they'll have to like duke it out or get like Drew Brees different gifts?
No. Next question.
Okay, cool.
I think Michael Thomas's return helps everyone because the pie will grow. The Saints are really struggling without him.
All right, let's move on to the Cleveland Browns heading to Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys. And this is a game that I really like for Odell Beckham to remind us of the New York Giants Odell Beckham that we've been waiting to show up in Cleveland. I just think that the Dallas secondary, it's been, we've seen it not be able to stop anyone. And this game is going to be a shootout. This Cowboys offense is too potent for it not to be. And so I'm hoping and I'm feeling like I have Odell, I think is my wide receiver. Let me see, wide receiver 9. So I am feeling that this is going to be the week that Odell is like, hello, everyone. Remember when I was amazing? I am back at it. And then he'll probably disappear again because that's just Odell's luck in Cleveland. But at least he'll flirt with fantasy stardom continuously this week.
Clark, do you have a hot something?
I mean, I don't know how hot it is. Odell doesn't look very good.
Or does Baker Mayfield not look very good?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought Odell looked good, but I haven't watched too much of their film. As far as the running backs go, I've been, as they say, noodling on this, and I think I might have to end up adjusting the rankings and putting Kareem Hunt over Nick Chubb. And it's purely a game script thing. Like if we just look at wins and losses for the Browns this year, what the two players have done, I really think that what we're looking at with Cleveland is basically just when when they're in neutral game script or winning, Nick Chubb is their running back. They're starting back. And when they're losing, or I guess like in a shootout, then it's Hunt. And I think it's pretty clear cut. And I kind of expect them to lean into it to a degree that we wouldn't expect an NFL team to do so. So right now, I think I've got them both as RB2s, Chubb in the high end, Hunt in the low. But I think I might have to squeak Hunt up there in front of him.
You have Nick Chubb as your RB14 and Kareem Hunt as your RB20. And for everyone who wants to, all these rankings can be found at faketeams.com. So you should go look at it. In fact, you should, while we have an ad break right here, go look at them right now during the ad break, but also listen to the ads. Otherwise, we don't get paid. All right, we are back. Let's continue with these games. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars heading to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Nick, I know for a fact, because I have your rankings here in front of me, you are all aboard the James Robinson hype train.
Yeah, really, all prominent pieces of these two offenses, I think, will perform really well, basically because their quarterbacks are in charge and their defenses don't matter. In Jacksonville, I think Minshew, I think I've got him as my number 12 quarterback this week. And Cincinnati's defense is just terrible, and I expect him to kind of get off the schneid, as they say. As far as James Robinson goes, his usage is outstanding and to a unique extent. And he hasn't had, meaning his per team usage as compared to his teammates is exceptional. He hasn't had very many gaudy totals, but he sure has in the box score. And I think that he is a real deal RB1/2 kind of play, right on that fringe. Definitely in this matchup, and I think even outside of it as well. He's running really, really well. And Chris Thompson, he got some snaps last week, but I think we saw a little bit of dual threat action out of James Robinson too. As far as the Bengals side goes, Joe Burrow looks sick. His rushing floor is fantastic. Joe Mixon, I think, can finally have a ceiling game in this outstanding matchup. Maybe that's a sell high point for him.
Sell him as high as he'll ever get this year.
Yeah, I hope that so this is interesting. So you guys should give me shit here in a second, but I hope that the emergence of T. Higgins gives the team a reason to kind of dial back AJ Green snaps, because he just looks bad. And the separation statistics confirm that. I was happy to see T. Higgins being used in the short to intermediate area of the field, especially when they're in the red zone, lighting up their big body target rather than trying to make him replace John Ross, which was my understanding as to why they brought him on the team in the first place. I think in this role, he can succeed. I think Tyler Boyd's still the top dog, but yeah, this group of wide receivers, I think, could have some nice box score results this week.
Yeah, you'll see a theme both in my rankings and in this game and then the game afterwards. Do not start AJ Green. AJ Green does not deserve to be in your starting lineup until he actually is able to put all of this together. And yes, maybe he gives you a good game on your bench, but until he shows me that he can actually take all of his intended air yards and the targets that he sees in this offense and actually do something with them fantasy wise, I am not burning a starting spot on him. So I am benching him. And if you want a direct comparison, I will start T. Higgins over AJ Green in a heartbeat. No questions asked.
Do we have any word on DJ Chark?
He's practicing, I thought.
I would love for him to play. I heard. I think the rising tide lifts all boats. Injury. Okay.
Yeah, he's cleared of the chest injury and limited at practice.
Yeah. So we saw the Jaguars last week kind of sputter against the Dolphins, and I think what they were missing was the 2 or 3 plays a game where, for whatever reason, DJ Chark has one person on him, and Gardner Minshew waits and bombs it to him, and Chark either gets a defensive pass interference or catches a nice 60-yard pass. So that element is sorely missing. If Chark goes, I think that he plays, or he'll definitely be a start for me against the get right Bengals. We'll see.
Yep. All right, let's next game, Indianapolis Colts against the Chicago Bears. And I'll start this off with 2 guys who, like I said, AJ Green, I'm benching until you show me something. Same thing with T.Y. Hilton. benching him until he shows me something. And until then, he can ride the bench. I have him as my wide receiver 48. So bottom of the wide receiver 4 tier. I also don't love Jimmy Graham this week. I know he was all hot and bothered last week, and with Nick Foles coming in, Nick Foles loves his tight ends, and that there was hope for that renaissance to reemerge. But the Colts their defense has been phenomenal against tight ends to start this season, and partially probably because of who they've played. But you can't argue over the script. You can argue over the results. They've only allowed 32 yards to the position through 3 weeks. So I would be hesitant to go grab Jimmy Graham and then start him this week. But I do think you should grab Jimmy Graham because Nick Foles, starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears now, does love his tight ends.
Yeah, Hilton's kind of the last man standing. This will be the last game that I have any faith in Hilton. I keep waiting for him to bounce back. And there's other players that I've moved on from, like Odell. I think that he may have a couple of good games this year against horrible teams, but he's just not
moved on from Odell before you've moved on from T.Y.?
Yes. Because T.Y. Hilton looks like he can still cut. Odell Beckham looks like something's wrong with his legs, like A.J. Green does. Like A.J. Green looks like there's something wrong with his legs. And worst of all, for Odell Beckham, for some reason, Baker Mayfield throws the ball right to Jarvis Landry and rarely in the same zip code to Odell Beckham. I do not know why that is.
Why? Yeah, that kills me. Anyways, continue.
I'm holding on with T.Y. And the reason I'm holding on with T.Y. is not because of anything that he's giving me. It's because all of the targets that Phillip Rivers likes more continue to go down for the rest of the year. And T.Y. Hilton is the only person left. That's not really great analysis. I understand that. But I'm giving him one more game, and it's a tough one against Chicago. Mo Alley Cox, if you haven't gone out and gotten him, you should. He's a beast. He's got the former basketball player turned football star, and he kind of looks like that, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling down the field. He's a giant amongst giants. And Phillip Rivers loves him, center of the field, open up the passing lane. So Jack Doyle is dead to me. Sorry, Jack Doyle, but Mo Alley Cox is the man to have, and just the running game for the Colts will likely continue to roll.
So that's the thing. Are we cool with Mo Alley Cox just like being the guy over Jack Doyle at this point?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
I mean, Doyle's been hurt and not favored when he wasn't. I feel like it's just so much from Mo Alley Cox, and it isn't that he's catching a little 3-yard pass and then the safety falls and runs into the linebacker. Like, he's making amazing football plays, and I just don't know how you go away from that when you've played your whole career with players like that, with what Phillip Rivers has had in San Diego.
Yes.
Cool.
That is a very good point.
I think the game script here sets up really nicely for the Colts run game. It pretty much always will because they can just impose their will. But Adrian Peterson had a decent day in week 1, which is a testament to what I'm saying here. The phenomenal New York Giants team. I mean, they even managed a rushing score. And then both Atlanta backs, Todd Gurley and Brian Hill, who everybody should go add, both found Pater last week. So I think Jonathan Taylor is in for another King Kong matchup. And I think that bodes very well for Nick Foles and Allen Robinson in this one too, as kind of the point chasers there. To the T.Y. Hilton point, I happily cut him this week for Deebo Samuel, who returned to practice. His 2 drop touchdowns were too much for me to handle. I just wonder if his body's betrayed him.
Yeah, I will make no strong argument against it.
Except for the fact that Odell Beckham, I guess, somehow is worse.
Yeah, I actually don't think Beckham looks bad, but it is clear what they want to do is run in an intelligent manner until the cows come home.
I mean, I grant you, Clark. That Baker Mayfield, for some reason, can't fucking throw a catchable ball to Odell, which I don't understand. I feel like Baker saw Odell's highlight reel and is just like, I want to recreate that. I want to be in a highlight reel. So he's just throwing him shit balls to try to get him to do his one-handed crotch catch. Anyways, Arizona Cardinals heading to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Nick, is this the game we finally get to see Kenyon Drake run all over everyone?
Let me bring my notes up here. Okay. Yeah, this one's like just kind of a fire the cannons matchup. And do I think that Drake will be able to get the job done? Yeah, I do. I do think that he's kind of taken on the running back role rather than like dual threat. And I think that that's a bit of a shame because we're just being sapped of his pass catching ability. But against Carolina, it's smoke him if he got him. So I'm let's see here. I got Drake somewhere towards the top. He may be okay. He's a high end RB2 at this point for me, which I still think is something to get excited about in this matchup. Outside of him, we're just excited about all of the normal guys. Kyler Murray will go crazy rushing. DeAndre Hopkins, Clark. I don't think you victory laps me sufficiently on that. So if you want to get in on that, now's your chance. Andy Isabella made the most of his meager workload last week, and it's been really interesting seeing the way that Christian Kirk, I don't think really had much of a slot role before he went out, and he had the highest ADOT on the team. It was like 20 point something yards, and then Isabella came in and racked up 2 scores. So if you're in need of a spot start, I think in the matchup, Andy Isabella can be your guy. And then on the Carolina side of the ball, pretty much, you start the big names. Mike Davis going to have a great day. DJ Moore is going to have a great day. And I think importantly, Teddy Bridgewater is going to have a great day because what we love are teams that push the pace. Like the Cards, I believe they're number 1 in plays run per game right now. If not, they're top 3. And that's just going to force Teddy to get on his horse and throw. So I'm pretty pumped about both sides here.
I think you said it well. We kind of start everyone on both sides. Did Robbie Anderson die, or is he still the best wide receiver in Carolina?
Robbie Anderson didn't die. I forgot about Robbie Anderson.
Okay,
I really like.
Sure.
He's just their one-trick deep threat pony, and DJ Moore is just an ascending All-Pro. That's the only thing there.
That's a good trick, though.
It's a good trick to have.
Getting behind the defense
down the field.
I actually, what might be kind of fun is to see who's going to score more touchdowns, Robbie Anderson or Andy Isabella. Because I think both those guys could go for more.
Oh, this game, yeah, both those guys could go for finish with like 130 and 2 touches.
Yeah, and I'm not victory lapping DeAndre Hopkins because we should probably talk about this in the offseason. This would be a fun thing to talk about for an hour. I don't think that DeAndre Hopkins went to a new team and became a great receiver. I just think that it's so rare for receivers like DeAndre Hopkins to go to a new team. And what I mean by that is a really, really talented do-it-all wide receiver who's not a gigantic pain in the ass, who thinks that he knows more than everyone else.
So much Odell shade on this show.
And that's what we've seen with a ton of these really talented wide receivers that have gone to other teams. Like, I think that if next year Julio Jones went to the Niners, I would not be worried about Julio Jones because you know what Julio Jones does every day? He goes to work and maybe misses a day of work for contract talk, but basically doesn't do stuff like this. Michael Thomas doesn't do stuff like that. Amari Cooper doesn't do stuff like that. So I'll just chalk that trade up to the Raiders. And I think that's why Hopkins is having a good year. But I think receiver goes to new quarterback is still something to be very weary of. Just you usually don't see some idiot trade the best player at his position for a bag of peanuts like we did this year.
I'm sorry, Clark. Your pain is always humorous to me.
I'm not upset.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Good. New York Giants heading to LA to take on the Rams. Is there anything here that you guys especially want to point out other than just run who you got?
Everything on the Rams are doing is working again.
Yeah.
So
Darrell Henderson, man, add him right now. That dude has top 12 running back upside. Akers' rib injury, evidently is going to keep him out for a while. The fact that I don't know. I hope nobody was really high on Malcolm Brown trying to play with surgically repaired pinky last week. Henderson's the dude, and he may not have the job for more than a month, but in the meantime, they're the run heaviest team in the NFL, and you have their starter. So just if you have them, fire them up.
They also, I feel like people forget about this, and stats and information is furiously working right now to try to pull this up. But they drafted Darrell Henderson was their supposed running back of the third round. Thank you. They drafted him to be a vital part of this offense, and they were wanting him to do it. They had Todd Gurley there, so they got rid of Todd Gurley, and then Malcolm Brown kind of flashed a little bit, and Henderson was dealing with injuries, and now all the injuries have broken Henderson's way. And so it's not one of these situations where I feel like NFL teams love to put draft pedigree on, as a tier, as an important, emphasize that, which is just utterly stupid in my opinion. But anyways, so it's not as something where it's like an undrafted running back comes in and does it, and you're like, well, can he really start ahead of Cam Akers? We spent a second round pick on Cam Akers. It's like we invested a third round pick a couple of years ago in Darrell Henderson, and now that he's like healthy and producing, it's like great, run with the hot hand. So and Sean McVay has said multiple times they want this to be a committee. So I not only think that you should go get, if Darrell Henderson is available in your league, go get him for whatever it takes. And it's not just that he's going to have value for the next month or so or whenever Cam Akers is out. He might have value for like the whole rest of the season. And that is something, like you said, like the amount that the Rams are running and the success that the Rams are having running, you want that on your team no matter what.
So two things, statement and a question. Statement, people much smarter than me have pointed out that McVay has started adding some gap scheme run plays for him, which is what he ran in Memphis, and he had really a difficult time running the Rams zone. So I like that, structuring the scheme around the strengths of your players. That's good coaching. Question, in a full point PPR league, let's say you got a totally loaded roster, Deontay Johnson or Darrell Henderson?
Ooh.
With the concussion in mind.
For starting, or for like you dropped Deontay Johnson for Darrell?
Exactly, that.
I'll take it because I'm under the stupid impression that these coaches have gotten to the positions they're in because they're smart. And I like how you mentioned Monday when I wasn't on the pod that it's a bit of an old boys club too. So you keep that disclaimer in mind. Feel like you got to roll with a hot hand, and everyone who's played for the Rams as their starting running back has looked pretty good. Henderson is tearing it up. But like I said earlier, everything the Rams are doing is working again. So it's like the 2 years ago Rams. Every time they run a play that's a pass play, they got two guys running wide open. Every time they run the ball, there's a giant hole for the running back to run through. So I just don't know, outside of injury, why you would go away from the guy who's just killing it. And if you're changing your scheme for the gap run scheme, that is the opposite of what Cam Akers did really well. What Cam Akers had problems with, well, like for the first 2 games of his career before he got hurt, is he's floating and waiting a la Le'Veon Bell for the hole to open up. And one, that's a kind of a big rookie mistake. But 2, that's the zone scheme. You flow down the line and then you pick your hole and you hit it really hard. And those are just 2 different styles. And with what Henderson is doing and with the changes that they've made to the offense, why would you go away from that until it stops working? So I don't know. But then there's all this committee stuff, which is like, no, a committee is what you do when you don't have someone who's really good.
Yeah. I always, and if it's full point PPR, I will always break towards the running back because they have the most opportunity for touches, right? If Darrell Henderson has like 18 carries and 5 catches, that's more. Deontay Johnson's not having 23 catches in a game. Even though I love Deontay Johnson, I think he was a good call by, was that you, Nick? Did you? I feel like you were talking.
I liked him a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit this offseason. All right, we've got 4 games left. Let's really string this out as long as possible. Buffalo Bills heading to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. I like Hunter Renfrow in this game. The Bills have struggled with covering kind of the middle of the field slot. And I think Darren Waller will also have a big game, but Darren Waller, you got him, you play him. Hunter Renfrow is a guy I think you could still get off waivers. He had a big game against the Patriots in terms of target share when they were shutting down Darren Waller. So I just like him to kind of come against Buffalo and be able to have similar success running across the middle. I also big Cole Beasley fan. Cole Beasley has just like routinely, he showed chemistry with Josh Allen last year, and that has moved its way into this year. And so I like both of those guys as players you can add off waivers and start this week.
I just want to point out that I said the Patriots would not just beat but crush the Raiders, and I was right.
Well done,
Cole. You were right.
Well
Bills defense does allow production to tight ends and slot receivers. They're built more to stop production on the outside. As far as the Raiders go, they're one of the worst run defense teams, which with Zach Moss potentially down, Josh Allen is just going to crush it.
Will Devin Singletary score a touchdown this season?
Yeah, I don't know.
We debate.
He's going to have to work. It's going to be a long one on his own. All systems go on Josh Allen. As far as the receiving game go, goes. John Brown might be out for a while with his calf injury. Gabe Lewis lined up on the outside, and given the way the offense is passing on early downs, worth a speculative add.
Yep. I like that. New England heading to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs in a premier matchup. One might argue that this should overtake Philadelphia heading to San Francisco, because why do I want to see that? But instead, we are stuck with this being the 4:00 game. Clark, what do you like about this game? Besides for everything.
In real football terms, this is obviously the game of the week. Super excited to see how the Patriots hold up against the Chiefs passing game. I feel like they, at least so far, have done the best against Mahomes of kind of disguising what they're doing, getting pressure, and pressing the slight Kansas City wide receivers, which I know the broadcast called it out 500 times, but absolutely, like, that's what you do, and you're going to get beat deep doing it, but you're going to get beat deep anyway. And so at least you can get Kansas City off the field every once in a while. So the Patriots have moved to a more traditional offense, I think, with Cam getting more interested in things. What I really liked is the first game we saw with the Patriots, Cam could not check out of stuff. He did not know where his hot read was and looked really bad against pressure, and he's progressively gotten better and better and better about that. We saw him look really good last week. So I'm just going to be interested to see how he looks against what turns out to be a pretty substantial Kansas City defensive line, at least. So it'll just be interesting to see if they just run traditionally like they did last week over the Raiders, which I think is the game plan I would kind of go with, especially with their stable of running backs. Welcome back to Who the Hell is Getting the Ball in New England for 2020 again. But then can Kansas City be stopped? I feel like the Patriots are the ones that will be able to do it outside of, the Ravens, who might just boat race them if Lamar Jackson can get some more confidence. But that's what I'll be looking at. Patriots defense versus the Chiefs offense, and then can the Patriots just continue running with all three backs?
Yeah, I think the key takeaway, you kind of hit it here, Clark, is, maybe I guess we might differ a little bit, with the way that the Chiefs offense will push the pace. The onus is just going to fall on Cam. Like, no matter what, he's either going to just pummel his way to a healthy box score, or he's going to be forced to throw, and he's done a pretty good job of that too this season. It's long talked about how the Chiefs can't stop anything on the ground. On that note, Pete, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. What a nice little segue right there. I tweeted this out. I'm a little sneaky in on Sony Michel this week. He's coming off of his best game of his career, where he looked like explosive and decisive and able to like actually run downhill, which is something that as a Patriots fan, we've been waiting for him to do ever since he came into the league. So coming off of that, and like Nick said, the Chiefs are there to just basically say, yes, run on us. Please drain the clock. We can score in 30 seconds. So it doesn't matter that there's no time left. And the Patriots offense has just become this, like, I mean, it's become Ravens-esque in the sense of, it's just like, we are going to run with the stable of running backs and Cam Newton, and we will hit some big plays down the field. And that's kind of what we're going to operate with. So I like a little sneaky Sony Michel love this week to kind of continue building off of what was a huge game for him against the Raiders.
I hate to spring this on y'all without giving you any time to prepare. Who is this new little running back that is in New England?
JJ Taylor?
That's really dynamic.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, so he's an undrafted rookie who they brought in, and he's
been there years. He was at Arizona State.
Yeah, and so he's got that super sneaky speed that you love to see. So and they were implementing him on those kind of toss sweep plays, and he was looking really nice out there. So I think that's what they're going to kind of do. I know James White is practicing and likely will play after the unfortunate passing of his father. And so that will temper. My guess is the roles that I foresee is Sony Michel and Cam will be the, between the tackles bruiser. JJ Taylor is going to be any kind of outside pitching, and Rex Burkhead and James White are going to continue to be their kind of pass catcher backs out of the backfield, with some weird N'Keal Harry screens thrown in there. So your guess is as good as mine as to who's going to actually have fantasy value. All right, 2 games left. Philadelphia Eagles heading to San Francisco to take on the San Francisco 49ers. Should we just shit on Carson Wentz for like 30 seconds?
To echo what y'all talked about on Monday, Deshaun Jackson's a drop. I've finally given up on him, so he should have a huge game since we're all in agreement that he has no more value. The Niners still looked like the Niners, I think a big condemnation for Jimmy Garoppolo, who I've never been a huge fan of other than his boyish charm. I feel like this could be a game that the Eagles sneak up and win. I don't think that Carson Wentz is as terrible as he has looked, but it's hard to say I don't believe what my eyes are seeing. So give the ball to Miles Sanders and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that Sanders is he's already had like a wonderful snap share and usage. I think it's probably just going to increase. Niners could roll him. If Kittle's back, I don't know what Debo's availability is this week.
Yeah, I don't know if Debo, but Kittle seems like he is back and ready to go.
Yeah, and
I'm excited about.
Jarek has returned to practice too, which might have nuked my Jeff Wilson Jr. excitement this week. But I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, it's going to be a Niners.
Why not both? Isn't that that's the gif? Who's excited for the Hakeem Butler tight end experiment?
I am a little.
I am too. This is the most mad thing in the world, which is not maddening. Madden is to take like a tall wide receiver and just be like, we're going to make you a tight end. Happened with Darren Waller, pretty effective. So we'll see if Hakeem Butler can fill in for Dallas Goedert as the Eagles' number 2 wide receiver / receiver.
Hakeem Butler, like former New York Giant Hakeem Butler?
No, Hakeem Butler, like former Arizona Cardinals Hakeem Butler.
Oh.
Who's like 6'5" and wins jump balls. So a tight end.
Well.
Final game. We made it. Monday night. Atlanta Falcons heading to Green Bay to take on the Packers.
Yes.
Yes. All of the yes. Everything is yes. Let's give Allen Lazard some love and respect that he deserves. Treat this man. I have him as wide receiver 22 right now. Probably I'll bump that up, especially if Devontae Adams doesn't suit up. If Devontae Adams doesn't suit up, then for me, I'm saying Allen Lazard is like a top 15 fantasy receiver this week, going up against a Falcons secondary that we have seen over and over and over and over again just get torched. So all here for Allen Lazard's the continuation. He's a wide receiver like 10 right now in fantasy. Respect the man.
The only interest I have in talking about this, since everyone is kind of a no-brainer start, even down to maybe Jamal Williams, if you're like super desperate, could be someone that you sneak into your lineup. I mean, I'm talking desperation play. Is how good would Bieniemy look captaining this offense next year? Because Dan Quinn is not. You can't lose games like this and keep your job when it was already pretty bad.
Clark, I apologize for putting out into the ether Bieniemy being the head coach of the Jets. Fire Dan Quinn, hire Bieniemy for the head coach of the Falcons, and let this team eat.
Yeah, I think the lovely thing about Atlanta is that no matter if their defense is good or bad, they're just going to make the opponent push the pace, and everybody gets to score. I mentioned a little bit earlier on, I do think that Brian Hill is worth a speculative ad because Gurley is just not getting passing game work. He is not a workhorse at this point. And Brian Hill's been getting red zone looks. We really like that. As far as the Packers go, I am still not convinced. Their early down passing usage is. I'm thinking once they get further into the season and these like cake matchups don't just like push them into passing game situations. I'm very curious to see how that shakes out. In the meantime, you got to start their passing game weapons in this showdown. So get Lazard in there. If Adams obviously is like top 3 receiver if he is active. Lazard probably.
If he's on the field, he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy.
Yeah, Lazard. I think you can like safely lock him in as a wide receiver 2 with serious upside. MVS could still just drop anything, but like I think he's worth getting in there. Perhaps the most exciting one is Big Bob, Robert Tonyan. Tight end 1 for the Packers.
Yes!
Yeah, good for him.
All right, well, there we go. That is the whole week broken down in excruciating detail because that's the only way we can bring it to you. Make sure to subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts, to the Fake Teams podcast channel. It's how you'll not only get our fantasy baseball and fantasy basketball and us. We are wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at RB1 Podcast. We'd love to talk fantasy with you as you get prepared for your Week 4 matchups. You can follow myself at Pete M. Roger. Follow Clark at NFL Clark and Nick at Ginger__Nick without a K. We will be back at you next week. Best of luck to your week 4 teams. Until then, peace.